Today's topic of our talk is communication and development of relationship. Let's start from this quote that how we penetrate into the hearts and souls of other people. How does this take place? How is that possible? And how are we forgotten from the same people at some stage of life? How this becomes possible that at one stage or at one point of time we slowly and gradually and silently penetrate into the hearts and souls of the people. Sometimes those people are strangers, but they become the lifelong friends. They become the part of our lives. How this takes place? How is that possible? That some strangers we just meet first time in our lives. They become so close that we cannot even imagine to live without them. And some people who are very close with us, we just forget them as we have never met them. So, how this journey takes place? What factors are responsible for this? I want to talk about these kind of elements and factors and variables. So let's start from communication. When we say communication, communication is all of the procedures by which one mind can affect another mind. I choose this definition of communication by purpose, by intent, by conscious, by intention. Because whatever or whenever we talk to other people, our purpose is to influence them, to change their attitude, to change their behavior, to bring them close to us, or sometimes the same communication bring those people away from us. So communication, whenever we communicate with people, what we call in Urdu iblagh, whenever we talk, whenever we communicate, our purpose is to change minds of the people, change minds in our favor, or change minds on the other way. Other way around. So that's the power of the communication. And the easiest way, what is the easiest way to do this? To penetrate slowly and gradually and silently into the heart of someone. The easiest way is to listen to the person. Most of the time we just talk, we don't listen. Listening breeds understanding. You know the commonly said quote that love begets love. Hatred breeds hatred. I say listening breeds understanding. So the easiest way is to listen to the people. And why to listen to the people? Because listening breeds understanding. And this communication, this understanding, if we want to accomplish it, to meet this end, communication, or rather I call a good communication is a bridge between confusion and clarity. If we want to understand people clearly, we need to have a good communication. Otherwise, there will be a lot of confusion because poor communication can ruin everything. Instead of knowing other people, understanding other people, we just assume because of the poor communication that what they are saying or what they are assuming or what they are feeling. The best thing is to talk to the people. मैं उर्दू में अक्सर कहता हूँ कि लोगों के बारे में बात करने से बेहतर है कि लोगों से बात की जाए. It's better to talk to the people rather than talk about the people. If you have anything in your heart, in your mind, sit and talk. Don't talk about the people. Talk with the people. And if you talk with the people, you can have a better understanding of the feelings, emotions, situations through which the people are going. Maybe we can taken for granted sometimes the situation the people are going through, and we can have assumptions which lead or correspond to breaking of relationships. So the important thing is to talk to the people rather than talk about the people. Most of the time, our communication fails. Most of the people complain that, oh, we talk a lot, but we never achieve the ends what we want to achieve. Why most of the time our communication fails? Because we don't listen to understand. Actually, most of us listen to reply. We are too quick to conclude and reply. We don't listen people. And our listening is not aimed at understanding the people rather than we listen people and quickly we reply people. Either that's a premature conclusion or we quickly jump to the conclusions rather than listening the people, understanding the people. So the habit of listening to reply sometimes make this or ends communication in failure. If we pay attention to listening, we can better understand how people feel, what kind of situation they are going through, what kind of feelings they are going through. And when I say understanding, we need to remember two things. We need to understand people empathetically, not sympathetically. These two things are very important, which we need to understand. That sympathetic understanding is a different. We don't need to show sympathy with the people. That sometimes annoys people. I think empathetic understanding is important. We need to show empathy. What mean empathy? We need to put ourselves in other people's shoes to understand what they are feeling, what kind of situation they are going, what kind of mental torture they are going, what kind of happiness they are feeling, what are their feelings, what are their emotions. So empathetic understanding is that we put ourselves in the perspective of the other person and try to know that person's perspective from his or her perspective. If we do this, I think we can better forge relationships. We can better develop relationships. Why? Because it's assumed that the 10% of the conflict among people is due to the difference of opinion. Only 10%. And the rest 90% difference is due to the delivery and the tone of voice. What kind of words we choose, how we deliver those words, and what is our tone while we are delivering those words. इसके लिए एक उर्दू का बड़ा खूबसूरत शेर है, मैं आपको सुनाता हूँ, and you can have a better understanding why I'm emphasizing so much on the tone. वो है कि वक्त के तीर तो सीने पे संभाले हमने, वक्त के तीर तो सीने पे संभाले हमने, और जो नील पड़े हैं तेरी गुफ्तार के हैं. ये जो इबलाग है, जो कम्युनिकेशन है, that's so important. The same words can heal and the same words can hurt. So maybe throughout our lives we travel from hurting to healing, from healing to hurting. But if we know the art of healing, how we spread this message of healing, it will not only heal ourselves, but it will also spread this positivity of healing among our fellow beings. That's the message, and that's an important point which we need to understand. Whenever we talk or whenever we talk to the people, we need to remember this, that अल्फाज जो है ना कि गुफ्तगू कीजिए एहतियात के साथ, लोग मर भी जाते हैं अल्फाज के साथ. So the kind of words we use, they are not dead. Remember, words are alive. They hurt, they heal, they mean, they make, they break. We need to remember this. Once we remember this, that whatever we utter, whatever we speak, whatever we, the kind of words we choose to talk with the people, regardless to whom we are talking, remember what kind of words you are using. जरूरी नहीं कि जिस मौत को हम फिजिकल मौत समझते हैं वही मौत हो. देखें, अल्फाज जो हैं उनका बहुत बड़ा किरदार होता है इंसान की जिंदगी में. They do have an impact and influence which most of us just taken for granted, and we keep saying the things which sometimes hurt us and hurt those who are associated with us. And that's one of the reasons that most of the relationship, most of the people live at broken places. That's one of the reasons. Now let's move how communication helps in developing relationships. Communication animates life. इबलाग जो है, whatever we do in our life, throughout our lives, since we are born and till the end, we keep talking, we keep communicating to our parents, to our friends, to our colleagues, to our classmates, to our relatives, and the story goes on. So communication animates life. It makes life alive. It makes life beautiful. It brings color into the life. So if you want to bring a color into your lives, be attentive, be conscious what kind of words you are using while you are talking with the other people or with your fellow beings. So, in other words, I can say communication to a relationship is like oxygen to life. Take oxygen away from a person, the person will die. When we take a blog communication away from a person, away from a relationship, it dies. Without communication, relationship dies. How strong they are, how intimate they are, doesn't matter. Just take communication away for some time, for some weeks, for some hours, for some weeks, for some months. You will see there will be a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of barriers. Maybe though kind of barriers which maybe we take our whole life, we cannot remove them, we cannot break them, only because of lack of communication. And why I say communication? Because a relationship needs proper amount of communication. Like to live, we need proper amount of oxygen, proper saturation of oxygen in our blood. If there is a lack of oxygen or there's a deficiency of oxygen in our blood, our cells start fading. They start their functioning stops. Same is a blog or communication in life. If there is no proper amount of communication in life, no relationship can grow without the proper amount of communication. It will stay at the stage where it was if we don't talk and the proper amount of talk, the proper amount of communication. We note that, in everyday lives, you note, I note, all of us note that some relationships flourish while others struggle. The reason is the health of communication. The better is the health of communication in a relationship, the better is the health of the relationship itself. So we need to look at the health of communication, how healthy our communication is with other people. If it is healthy, then the health of relationship, of course, will be healthy. Otherwise, it's going to struggle. It is going to face a lot of barriers, a lot of obstacles, a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of confusions. Clarity can only be brought about when we talk, when we sit and when we talk. That's what I call communication. Let me give you a very common example, which is familiar to all of us. As new semester starts in a university, we begin new set of classes with new professors and new classmates. Every new semester, there are new teachers and sometimes the same professors, but most of the time, new professors, new classmates. I'm talking about the beginning of semester because the semester is going to begin from the 3rd November. So that's why I choose this example to explain this, the role of communication in our lives. You might know some of the students because they already come from your city, from your village, from your town, from your family. That's the reason you know some of the students. Okay. Perhaps you have met them somewhere or they come from your family, as I have already talked. There are probably many other students in the class that you haven't met before. They are strangers to you. So what happens? Some of these students will relatively remain strangers. Others will just become familiar. जिनसे आपकी वाकफियत हो जाएगी. You will chat with them during the class and when you see them on campus, and still there are some others who become long-time friends, lifelong friends. So how this take place, that the same students who are in the same class, they met first time, some of them relatively remain strangers, some of them just become familiar. Hello, hi. Whenever you see them or meet them, you say hello, hi. Just have a very, very light kind of communication or chatting. While some of them become lifelong friends. How this is possible? This happens in 4 stages. So let me talk. Whenever there is a new semester, you hear that there will be orientation session. What orientation means? University orients new students with the university culture. tells them about their department, about the library, about the labs, about the extracurricular activities, about all kind of the facilities that are available in the university. University orients the new students with them, with their teachers, with their senior students, so that they feel comfortable. So, whenever we want to develop a relationship with any person, like in new semester with the new students, I mean, just imagine that you are in a new semester and you are classmates, and you want to talk with someone, you want to develop a relationship with someone. The first stage is orientation. I mean, at orientation stage, you just say hi, hello. You're just conscious and tentative in your interactions. This is because of the social convictions, beliefs, rules, norms, your culture from where you have come, your education that was given to you. Because of these rules and these limitations, you just orient, you just tell your name to the new student who is sitting very next to you or anybody who asks about you, and you share little information about yourself during this orientation stage. You are not willing to share, I mean, more deeper, more closer information with anyone. And then comes the exploratory affective stage. Next stage. In this stage, you begin to relax a little bit. You cognitively map that to whom you want to talk, with whom you want to talk, why you want to talk, with whom you will feel comfortable. Now, at this stage, once you have already oriented with all the people in your, I mean, with your all classmates, then you tentatively, consciously decide with whom you want to go one step further. Then this stage, what we call exploratory affective stage, you begin to relax, you share some more information about yourself. At this stage, you become more relaxed, more friendly. You give a bit more information than the orientation. Maybe the son of, the daughter of, the city you come from, that kind of information. But still, this is not the intimate information. That comes the third stage. And after passing through these two stages very quickly, just sitting in the orientation, then you jump to the third stage, and we call it an effective exchange stage. At this stage, many barriers already have been broken now. You have gauged in your mind, evaluated you in your mind that that's the guy or that's the person whom I need to talk, or I will be talking during my studies, a 4 years period at university. You make your calculation, you make your assumptions, and because of those calculation and assumptions and the two stages orientation, many barriers already have been broken down. As a result, a great deal of openness is seen because you become more open and the other person also becomes more open. This is a reciprocal process because during this stage, we decide to develop close relationship at some time. I mean, this stage leads towards very romantic relationships. I mean, close relationship, of course, end to very intimate relationships. How this takes place? Because at this stage, you start talking that I'm a liberal or I'm a conservative person. My education is from this institution. My family comes from this background. Now, I mean, you are going to those areas which you never share with the other people, with the common ordinary people. Now you are entering into the sensitive stage. And this process is very reciprocal. Once you say that I'm a kind of liberal person, my political views are like this, my religious views are like this, my cultural perspective is like this. Now, after these three questions, there is a reciprocity. The other person reciprocates. He also shares the same kind of information. If that information comes from the other person, then you keep going, otherwise you stop. Now new barriers are established because you think that this is not the kind of guy or the kind of person I need to talk to. So, but if there is a reciprocal response, then you keep going about your education, about your habits, about your culture, about your taboos, about your education, about your families, norms, values. You keep going and talking. And because why we do these kind of things only on the first day of the orientation? Because we feel comfortable while talking with those people. We feel that they are a kind of people who are like us. I mean, they are similar to us in attitude, behavior, values, culture, norms, and all other things. I mean, this thing gave you more relaxation, more openness, more comfortability. And as a result of this, you share more personal information. And that, of course, at the end of the day, that ends to sharing more personal information, like sharing contact numbers, like your page, Facebook ID, like your WhatsApp ID. And then, of course, you start talking with those people. You don't talk all people. You don't share. We don't share this information with all people. Just imagine your first day at university, and then try to evaluate what I'm talking. This is how the things go. The quality of communication, the comfort level of communication is a thing which goes forward, which is necessary or which is essential to develop relationships. And the last stage, of course, and the final stage is, of course, stability, stable stage. At this stage, I mean, the continuous openness and richness in interaction is seen. I mean, both people mature that interaction. They bring more richness, they bring more frankness, they bring more sweetness in that communication. And that's why we call it a stable. I mean, why we call it a stable stage? Because we understand each other very well. How to communicate with each other, and at this level, sometimes we even don't need language. We even understand the non-verbal gestures, postures, facial expressions, because at this level, people even don't use language or the words or what we call the verbal kind of communication. At this stage, for instance, we understand other people, other person's expressions, feelings. Whether the person is feeling comfortable or uncomfortable, or if the information is coming fluently, flexible in a flexible manner, then we assume that the other person is at a stable stage. I mean, he or she is not uncomfortable with us. So this is how the things go. This is how communication moves a relationship from superficial, what we call orientation stage, to intimate one. And how this takes place, that's only possible because of the quality of communication. As we move from the exploratory stage to the effective exchange stage, we move towards self-disclosure stage. I mean, what self-disclosure means, we disclose information about ourselves, about our parents, about our beliefs, about our customs, about our values, about our culture, about our education, about our families, and even the taboos in the family. I mean, this disclosure, as I already talked about, is reciprocal in nature, because it's a two-way. If the one person stops sharing this kind of information, the first person automatically stops sharing this kind of information. This reciprocity establishes among the communication participant, the more the breadth and depth of this reciprocal exchange, the more intimate is the relationship. But this is how we become friends. This is how we become close friends. This is how our relationship develop. Even in our families, we are not so close with all of them. We are only close with few people. And why? Because the comfort of communication, the level of communication, the quality of communication. Why we don't know about the others in more detail, more depth, more breadth? Because we have never talked with them. Maybe they are good people as well. Maybe they are as sweet as or the other people to whom we are talking. But the reason is because we never talk with them. We never sit with them. We only talked about them, or we only heard what the people talk about them. We never talked about them. We never tried to explore them, explore their nature, explore their feelings, explore their beliefs, explore their attitude, explore their behaviors, and explore their understanding, their likes, their dislikes. The thing is because we don't talk with them. And let's now talk another perspective. This is how relationships are made. Sometimes, when we start, then maybe in the middle we know, oh, this is not the person I'm talking to, or I was supposed to talk to. And then we want to quit that. How that takes place. Well, this is a very common everyday practice. And that's why I want to share with you. And this is also a 4-stage process. The first is differentiating. If we want to, create barriers or break a relationship with some person, we differentiate ourselves with those people. What differentiating means, for instance, we bring into our caste, our religious beliefs, our cultural beliefs, our family taboos, and we tell them, oh, we cannot be same because I'm from a different cultural background, you are from a different cultural background, I have a different religious sect, you have a different religious sect. I am from a different family background. You are from a different family background. My brought up is a totally different. My taboos, my values, my culture, my orientation is different. So this, if we want to go into that relationship, we go for exploratory effective stage. But if we want to go out of that, we differentiate ourselves from the other people. We create some sort of barriers. We create some sort of walls so that we can tell them that you are a different person, I'm a different person. Maybe you have read the book. Women are from the Mars, men from. Have you read? Men are from the Mars, women from the Venus. That's one of the good book. The men and women are different by nature. That book's very explicitly illustrate that men. The name of the book is "Men are from Mars, women are from Venus." If you have time, do read that book. You would get a better understanding of the human nature, why different people behave in a different way, why different gender behave in a different way. There are some fundamental orientation issues, why they look different. If people look different, we need to accept those differences. If we want to accept the moon, we also need to accept the spots present on the moon. अगर चांद की तमन्ना है तो चांद पे जो धब्बे हैं उनको भी कबूल करना है. That's what the communication means. You cannot have a moon, but you cannot ignore the spots. You cannot have a person, you cannot love a person, you cannot have a good quality of relationship if you want to make that person the kind of person you are. No. Leave the person what he or she is. Respect those differences if you want to have a healthy kind of friendship or relationship. If you want to convert that person the kind of person you are, it means you are going to change the identity of that person. At one stage that person will just go back because he or she cannot lose the identity. That identity crisis will result in differentiation or other stages. And then the second stage is circumscribing. At this stage, we start limiting ourselves. We were sharing a lot of information in the beginning. Then we come to know, oh, this is not the kind of person I'm talking to. And then we start our communication. We not stop, we limit the amount of our communication. First, hum ignore. The thing we call ignoring. That's the next step. At this stage, we don't physically ignore. We intellectually ignore. We decrease the amount of communication we were having previously. And we pretend, we have all the people have so many excuses. But at this stage, for instance, we do this by suddenly decreasing the breadth and the depth of information that we were previously sharing. We start minimizing the information share. We decrease that amount. And of course, the health of communication is the health of the relationship. Once we decrease the health of communication, of course, the relationship health will be affected at the end of the day. And the next stage of course, is stagnating. So what does we do? We start marking time in the relationship. We start thinking when we need to continue this, or if I'm not going to continue, when I need to quit out of it. So we start making calculations, and those calculations lead to the avoiding stage. What we do at the avoiding is we start developing physical separation. We don't want to see that person physically. We don't want to meet that person physically. we avoid. And whenever if we think that there are chances that we can meet that person, we try to avoid. We try our utmost that we avoid them. We don't have encounters with them, so that we don't have a chance to meet them. And this, why we do this? Because in our mind, back in our mind, we are traveling toward the termination stage. And the next, of course, is the terminating stage. Finally, all the baggage from differentiation. I mean, we differentiated because you belong to different caste, I belong to different caste. We have cultural differences. We have, I mean, so many issues you can create if you want to create barriers. But if you want to continue, you can overcome all those barriers. So it depends. And I mean, if you put this communication in the context, and I mean evaluate your communication or your dialogue with the people you have been having, you will understand that how this have taken place. Once the people want to go and keep going in a relationship, I mean, any kind of relationship, either it's a relative, it's a classmate, a close friend, the couples, the married couples even, if they want to continue, they can overcome everything. They can sit together, they can talk, they can break those barriers down, and they can have a healthy kind of relationship. But if once they have decided they want to end it, then they differentiate, then they circumscribe, then they stagnate, then they avoid, and then eventually and finally they terminate. And for termination, there are a lot of reasons. I mean, the cost is one of the reason in our cost, in our context, in our culture. But I just feel afraid. I mean, I feel sorry for those people who at the end of the say, "Oh, I'm from a different caste. You are from the different caste." Why they don't talk this in the beginning? You can understand. So they in the beginning they assume they can overcome these kind of barriers. But at the end of the day, the barrier which was very nominal in the beginning, very marginal in the beginning, that become the sole cause of termination in the end. So you can put this talk in the context, and you will better understand why people keep start avoiding certain people, why people terminate, why they say, "Oh, I'm very busy, I don't want to talk." Just remember one thing: no one is busy in this world. Everyone is busy in this world, but no one is busy in this world. The person we want to reply and we want to talk, we can talk at any cost, at any place, at any stage. That when the people start pretending that, "Oh, I'm busy, I couldn't send you a message, I couldn't find a time to talk," it means they are avoiding, they are stagnating, they are going to terminate. Just don't take this blog or this communication taken for granted. It means a lot because the words means a lot. And then summing up this talk, I want to say relationships are created, sustained, moved, and killed by the messages. What I mean, communication. The messages we exchange, they bring harmony, and the same kind of messages we share, they breed conflict, they create barriers. So that's why in the beginning I said that गुफ्तगू कीजिए एहतियात के साथ, लोग मर भी जाते हैं अल्फाज के साथ. So whenever we talk, we need to be very careful. We don't need to, taken for granted. Words are not taken for granted. Each and every single word do have a meaning. Words do have meaning. Word does have a meaning. So whenever you talk, you need to remember this. And then let me conclude that it's not the distance that keep people apart. ये फासला नहीं है जो लोगों को अलग रखता है. Actually, it is the lack of communication which separates people, which divides people, which keeps people away, which keeps people apart. And to develop healthy relationship, any kind of relationship, our communication must be hot, H-O-T, hot. Now you will be thinking, what does I mean? How communication can be hot? Hot communication means it must be honest, H of the hot. Communication must be open, O of the hot. And communication must be two-way, T of the hot. So if we want to have a healthy relationship, any kind of relation, even with our parents, we need to sit with them and talk with them, listen them, and make them listen to us. So that two-way exchange of communication can remove a lot of barriers, can remove lot of misunderstandings, a lot of confusion, and bring clarity. So this HOT is very important in communication: open, honest, open, and two-way. And last but not least, when I talk in your context, I mean teamwork. On it's often said that silence is gold. Of course, it's gold, but in teamwork, silence is not gold. It's deadly. In teamwork, you need to reach out, you need to speak out, you need to share the kind of problem you are facing. Because if in a teamwork we stay silent, that is going to prove deadly at the end of the day, because that will spoil the relationship between the team members, the hierarchical nature of that relationship, because that silence will kill the trust, will kill the confidence. So in maybe in some relationships, silence is gold, but in teamwork, silence is deadly. In teamwork, you need to talk, you need to reach out, you need to speak out, you need to open your heart. And this is what I started from. This is where from I started. How people penetrate slowly, gradually, and silently into the hearts of the people, souls of the people, because they talk with the people. They do not talk about the people. Actually, they talk with the people. They sit with them. They share with them the kind of problem they are facing. And then they overcome the confusion. They bring clarity. They bring understanding. They bring harmony. These three factors are so important in life. If we want to keep moving, want to have a healthy relationship, we need to be honest, open, and two-way in our communication. That's all for today.